We're pleased to get started on this presentation on an exceptional group of people interested in using differential equations and who's had a long history. But what we're going to be talking about is the current state and the remarkable activities that you can participate in terms of publishing and the special issue of the journal. So we have Beverly West from Cornell University, Samir Habre from Lebanese University of American University, and Maila.
Maila Hallare.
Yes, from the United States Air Force Academy, and I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Can I share my screen because I had the opening slides ready?
Okay, go right ahead.
All right. Thank you.
There you go. All right, let's go.
Thank you for your patience. Okay. Brian asked us to talk about CODEE past, present, future. So I'm doing the past, Summer does the present, Maila does the future. And of course, we're all intertwined. So past started in the early 1990s when Bob Beirut and Courtney Coleman applied to the NSF for a grant to set up a consortium for ordinary differential equations with experiments. This covered 7 institutions, and it was at the time when we were just barely starting with being able to use computer graphics on personal computers. So over the next few years, each of the 7 institutions ran a 1-week summer workshop for colleagues from all over the country, and summer came to ours. We were exploring how could the computer graphics revolution for personal computers could be used to revolutionize the teaching of ODEs. We organized many workshops at math meetings and published a quarterly newsletter. We also developed ODE Architect, an award-winning interactive software package for teaching, which became, unfortunately, outdated as operating systems changed. When our NSF grants ran out, we were disappointed to learn that many ODE courses were still being taught without computers. Evidently, we've been preaching to a choir of converts. Moreover, with no funds to help us to get to meetings to speak or run workshops, our presence at meetings and journals fell away. But in 2010, Beirut and Coleman obtained a 3rd NSF grant to create, through the Claremont College Libraries, a free online CODEE Journal, which is available at codee.org. Bob and Court made a special effort to let that name persist, although sometimes it's a little bit awkward because Google wants to change it to CODE, but if you persist, you can get there and it's easy to remember. Maila has a better way with a QR code for people, younger people who can manage that. Okay. Beirut and Coleman renamed CODEE to be the Community of Ordinary Differential Equations Educators. And fortunately, our sister organization, ODE, has taken over the running of workshops and creating a new community with the energy that we recognize from the original CODEE. So we are now concentrating on our online journal. This journal has been wildly successful with global impact. Fully 2/3 of the article downloads from the beginning are from outside the United States. And the last time I counted, that included some 168 out of 190 countries in the world. This particular map I made in 2020, and I haven't had time to make a new one, but it gives you the idea. We have just published our 3rd special issue with the theme Engaging the World, Differential Equations Can Influence Public Policy. It's already up on the CODEE website, so you can access it anytime. So without further ado, I introduce Samer Habre of the Lebanese American University in Beirut, who has been with us from the very beginning in 1992 and has done a wonderful job as guest editor for all of our special issues. He will tell about this one. And now I stop sharing so we can go back to his screen.
Thank you, Bev. I'm going to turn off the video just in case the internet is bad. So like Beverly's, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So like Beverly was saying, I am the guest editor of the third special issue of the CODEE Journal entitled Engaging the World, Differential Equations Can Influence Public Policies. Now, this came following two CODEE special issues earlier on engaging the world. The first one was called Differential Equations in Today's World, and the second is linking differential equations to social justice and environmental concerns. In this current issue, we have sought contributions that highlight how DEs may be used to reflect on public policy questions. Now, of course, public policy is an important issue. It provides structures and strategies by which our society can work to address and resolve some of the current social, economic, environmental, public health, educational, and other issues as well. Mathematical modeling of real-life problems through differential equations can help understand how systems in our society operate and can provide guidance in problem solving and analyzing the effectiveness of public policies. So this is the reason why we have decided to do this special issue, and the collection of papers we have received and published speak to the variety of where and how differential equations do influence public policies in governmental and non-governmental agencies. Now, because of the variety of topics covered, we have grouped the papers into categories. But before I talk about the 4 categories of the special issue, I'd like to mention that this special issue was dedicated to Beverly West, who is a dear friend of mine and a mentor as well, whom, like she said, I have met back in 1982, right before moving back to Lebanon after I had completed my PhD degree from Syracuse University. Of course, I've learned a lot from Bev. Her passion for differential equations is unparalleled. She has been the driver behind the wheel for CODEE and has in the past developed and contributed to a number of software and projects for the qualitative understanding analysis of solutions to ODEs. She has also been taking care of the journal since 2010, as she has mentioned earlier, in various capacities. I want to thank you, Bev, for all that you have done to me and for the community of ODE educators. Thank you, Bev.
Thank you, Samer.
So moving on, let's talk about the categories. The first category of papers consists of 3 papers, and they are all, they focus on epidemics. Naturally, the COVID pandemic constitutes the majority of the papers. And the first paper, entitled To Open or Not Open, Developing a COVID-19 Model Specific to Small Residential Campuses, authors Ed Hall and colleagues discuss a real-time project to help administrators at their colleges decide whether to reopen their campuses in the fall of 2021, where a key element at the time was the introduction of vaccines. To help guide this decision, the authors formulated a model capturing the dynamics of the spread of COVID-19 on a residential campus. They then created an app which could be operated by policymakers themselves to explore other parameter settings. This unique contribution allowed the administrators to have a deeper understanding of the models and the opportunity to try their own input. Findings were extrapolated to a general audience, therefore democratizing the policy-making process. Now, we tried on every slide to put a graph or something that describes the paper. Here in this graph, we see the app as the authors have developed. The second paper in this category is entitled Applying the SIR Model. Can Students Advise the Mayor of a Small Community? The paper by Goosen, Nelson, and Watanabe, this from Australia, describes a classroom project for a modeling scenario for the spread of an infectious disease in a closed but simulated community of 3,000 people. A theoretical mayor had asked students of a third-year mathematics course to determine what would happen before vaccines were introduced to the population if no action is taken. Then they were to evaluate policy options such as lockdowns, social distancing, hand hygiene, masks, and various combinations of these options. And of course, to recommend the best course of action. The graph that you see on the slide shows the level of infectives for the various options plotted versus time. And the third and last paper in this category, entitled Fitting a COVID-19 Model, Incorporating Senses of Safety and Caution to Local Data from Spartanburg County in South Carolina, Griffin and Mangum discuss how SIR models have generally failed to capture the nature of the COVID-19 pandemic, primarily because they do not take into account public policies, such as social distancing, mask mandates, and the stay-at-home orders. The paper examines experimental data from Spartanburg County in South Carolina, giving insight into the changing social response toward the pandemic within the county. Results show that the overall level of caution is driven by the intensity of the variant rather than by the mandates put in place at various points during the pandemic. And here, what you see on the slide is a graph showing the number of cases, the daily cases versus time, and a comparison between the US facts and the South Carolina facts. For the second category, this was about engaging students in the classroom, and we have here two papers. The first paper by Byung Liu, Differential Equations for the Changing World, How to Engage Students in Learning and Applying Differential Equations. Liu presents a detailed approach to planning and teaching an intensive 5-week summer differential equations course. The paper suggests tips for creating an interactive and supporting learning environment to optimize student engagement with a focus on real-world situations and a special attention to ways differential equations can be relevant to creating public policies. Some of the examples that the author have worked with are modeling complicated pollution. The project that was discussed with the students relates to public policy regarding the pollution crisis. A project of modeling a logistical growth population, in this case it was fish population with weekly harvest. The project, of course, was related to public policy regarding sustainable fisheries management. The second paper in this category, Raising Student Awareness of Environmental Issues via Writing Assignments with Differential Equations. The author, Michelle Grist, writes about environmentally focused writing assignments developed and implemented in an integral calculus and differential equations courses. Two assignments, one on carbon storage and the other on pollution in the Spokane River, were intended to focus student attention on sustainability concerns while also developing other essential skills such as technical writing and environmental awareness. This basically concludes the second category. The third is a collection of 3 papers on population dynamics. The first one by James Sandefur is entitled Population Growth Models, Relationship between Sustainable Fishing Making a Profit. The author examines differential equations that model the sustainable harvesting of species having different characteristics. The focus is on how maximizing profit can affect the harvesting strategy. When this leads to collapse of a particular species population, regulations become necessary to restore the stock. This is where, of course, there is a mention of public policy, and it becomes an important thing to discuss. The paper is full of interesting graphs, such as what you see on the slide. On the left, you see a phase line, and on the right, you see a bifurcation diagram. Another population model is blue whale and krill populations modeling by Li Zhang. Li Zhang's paper is about an undergraduate mathematical modeling course where predator-prey models are taught to students who are expected to use the numerical and graphical methods to observe the qualitative long-term behavior of whale and krill populations. Clearly, some of our current students will be the leaders of tomorrow and therefore the makers of public policy. The author emphasizes the importance of strengthening students' awareness of protecting endangered species and its impact on climate change and global habitability. On this slide, you see this line across the top that shows that a decreasing population of blue whales, blue whales eat krill, and krill eat phytoplankton. I cannot, say these words properly, and these and this has an effect on global warming, obviously. On the left down here, you see a face portrait of blue whales versus krill population of, and on the right, you see the time series of blue whales versus time and krill versus time. And finally, in this category is nonlinear dynamics of mountain pine beetle populations, discussion of forestry policy, a survey of existing mathematical models, and code-based demonstration by Scott Strong, Maya Johnson from the Colorado School of Mines. Mountain pine beetles cause a significant destruction of Colorado lodgepole pine forests. The projected warmer environment increases the problem, emphasizing the need for effective land management policies. In the paper by Strong and Johnson, partial differential equations are used to model this insect-plant interaction, offering insights into possible mitigation strategies. As per the author's words, increasing the capacity of STEM-informed individuals to take part in quantitative modeling of the underlying ecosystem generates awareness and provides pathways connecting the how of public land management to the what, why of policy creation. Now, this is a unique paper, one of 2 papers that about PDs rather than ODEs, as we'll see a little bit later. That takes us to the 4th category, which is of unique modeling projects using differential equations. The first one is by Catherine Cavagnaro from the University of the South. It's entitled Modeling Aircraft Takeoffs. The author, who is an airplane pilot and instructor, showcases in her paper an application modeling aircraft motion to ensure safety during takeoff. Aircraft safety is definitely a matter of public concern, although it's the FAA that makes the regulations. In trying to understand the takeoff rules, the author raises some circumstances for which the current rules fall short of their goal. Next paper is about mandatory voting. Now, this is a is of interest to clinicians, the paper by Christoph Borgers and colleagues presents mathematics relevant to the question whether voting should be mandatory. It models how politicians might adjust their positions to raise their share of the vote. Various scenarios are explored using an app that the authors also have developed, engaging students in a rather unusual context. The graph that you see here shows the proportion of the population voting for each candidate as a function of voter loyalty. Taxation is another issue of concern to the public and important as a policy. Also, Borgers but this time with Boosian, explain how modeling can be used to explore the effects of taxation on the emergence of oligarchs. The model discussed suggests that oligarchs will emerge when wealth taxation below a threshold, and that taxation of income and capital gains alone cannot prevent the emergence of oligarchs. Solar panels, Euler's method, and community-based projects, connecting differential equations with climate change by Victor Donnet. Donnet describes in his paper how to introduce in an introductory modeling course the topic of solar power, how to apply Euler's method for differential equations to determine the energy generated, and how to provide a variety of lesson extensions that engage students in an exploration of policy issues related to climate change. The unique outcome of Donnet's classes is that he develops community partners who work with the students so that these projects actually do bring about visible public policy results. You see two photos on the slide. On the left shows students with a solar array on the roof of a community building, and the photo on the right shows his student presentation of their project to commissioners. And finally, using a sand tank groundwater model to investigate a groundwater flow model by Christopher Everard, Callie Johnson, Michael Carls, and Nicole Regnier. I think this paper was already presented in a session earlier this afternoon. The authors describe a tabletop physical model that illustrates how groundwater flows through an aquifer, how water wells work, and the effects of contaminants introduced into an aquifer. The author explains how the model, or the authors explain how the model can be used to simulate groundwater flow through an aquifer with a no-flow boundary condition. This has obvious implications for influencing public policy on water quality. This paper is the second paper on PDEs. It begins with an introduction to the heat equation, the usual first model studied in partial differential equations, and the groundwater flow equation follows from this. This concludes basically all the papers that were published in this special issue. I thank you for listening, and I ask Maila now to take the floor for the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt saying we can go as long as we need here, because if people want to leave for the other sessions coming up, that's fine. If not, we'll just keep going, and the last one out, we'll close the door. So Maila, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So our website is CODEE.org. We have the special issue available now, and I am very grateful to all our authors who were very patient with me, like around the final few weeks of the year, and I was emailing them like early in the day, 2 a.m. Please make these changes, and they were all very cooperative. So thank you to all our authors for being patient with me with all of my last-minute editorial requests. So please visit our CODEE website. And I would like to recognize some of the editors in our audience right now. So in the editorial board, okay, something is wrong with my internet, but we have Chris McCarthy, Victoria Savatarova, and Tom Johnson. They serve as associate editors. And of course, Bev and Summer, they serve as associate editors to the CODEE Journal. There you go. Thank you all for your service to the CODEE community. We also have some authors in the audience, Michael Carls and Mark Nelson. And I'd like to invite everyone to consider presenting at the CODEE Journal sessions at the JMM and at the Math Fest. And of course, consider submitting your manuscript to the CODEE Journal. Send me an email and I will give you a copy of the official LaTeX class file. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maila.
Thank
We are
you.
Very
Thank you.
happy that Maila has taken over as editor-in-chief. She saved us a lot of trouble with actually getting the publishing up. And we love her enthusiasm and thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, before we thank everybody for final, Maila or someone, all the previous issues are available, correct?
Yes.
And
So there's this rich repertoire of resources. Bev, you want to?
yeah, it goes back to the newsletters from our starting in 1992. So that the online journal starts with volume 7, I think, or something like that. But you can get the newsletters also because they were full of examples.
Yeah, and can you tell us the discounted price for those of us who are at this meeting?
Discounted price for what? CODEE Journal is free.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Okay.
Yeah. And we would like to thank the Claremont universities for hosting the CODEE Journal in their libraries. They are the ones who are paying for the background administration in this website. I only do the frontline editorial stuff, but the Claremont Libraries administration were very supportive in maintaining the journal. Thank you so much.
And one thing you should know is if you ever write an article for the CODEE Journal, about once a month, you're going to get a report and it's a world map and it's going to tell how many people around the world and where they were and whether they read your article. I didn't even write a legitimate article. I just put an announcement in there. It gives you good strokes, I'm sure, over the years to know that. And as Bev said, the geography is incredible in terms of the spread of the communities that this activity reaches. And I think it's wonderful. And let's give them all a round of applause. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
We can stay on and talk some more.
I just wanted to mention that I was in graduate school in 1996. And I kind of remember hearing about CODEE, but I don't think I was really fully, sometimes when you're a graduate student, you're not fully paying attention to all the stuff that's happening around you. You're just kind of focused on your work.
Graduating.
Yes, graduating, like trying to stay a graduate student or trying to not be a graduate student, depending on how you think about that. And I had actually, until I came to this talk, I really had no idea that you have been around for so long. I kind of had the impression that somehow the first time I heard about you that you were new, but now I realize that I was wrong about that impression. So this is very interesting. Are most of the papers geared really towards like undergraduate teaching or scholarship? And that's kind of the impression I get from just this special issue, that it's very much things that people are doing in the classroom or could do in the classroom.
Yes, and we had quite a few more papers submitted that we either for some reasons they couldn't finish or we thought were better in the regular issue. They're all the same quality papers. And one interesting thing was, one was written by students, not the first one, but the one for this special issue that was written by students couldn't be completed because the lead author got very ill. He's still hoping to do it, and we've urged him to publish it in this regular issue. But the point I want to make and bring it up is that we do accept papers from students. We've had several. One was about gossip from the Colorado School of Mines back in, I don't know when, 2018 maybe. And that's one of the top papers overall. The various metrics we get from the system every month lists the most popular papers, and that's one of them. It's written by students, students who do research. And Michael Carl's work that he just presented this afternoon was also done with students, although he was involved too, whereas the one I just mentioned was all students. But we encourage anyone who has something to say about applications or better teaching, better learning. We're really interested, and I get really excited about the new applications, and I also get really excited about the global reach.
And remember, CODEE runs sessions at the Joint Math Meetings and at the Math Fest. Simeo does the same, and unfortunately, sometimes they just put them in parallel times.
They schedule us at the same time.
Yeah, and you know, that's fine. I mean, we're certainly not competitive, but the bad news there is they are not recorded, whereas at a conference like this, they are. So
yes, I appreciate that, but we also can say that Victoria Savatorova, who's been leading our conference sessions, collects all the PowerPoint slides and anything else the authors want to send and makes them available. So we do the best we can without the good advantages that you have secured.
yeah,
Thank you, Simeodine.
yeah. Well, it's nice to see across the globe this passion and this interest, and we're very happy that Samir's with us this time.
I'm ready to go to bed now. It's 11.
Oh, yes.
11:40.
It's almost
My time
midnight
here. I
for
have to go
summer.
wake up early for classes tomorrow.
Yeah,
So,
you have classes tomorrow, right?
yes, I do.
That's
Yes.
okay. All right. Well,
All
thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Thank
Summer.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. I'm going to leave. You're welcome to stay on. And we have the next sessions are in progress. And then we have 2 more sessions and a closing. So I'll maybe see you at the other end. Okay.